they're not able to keep this story quiet anymore. Now they're going to have to talk about this. And I love seeing Chris Smalls on mainstream media telling them what's up. But yeah, this has been very exciting. We did a brief live the other day just to talk about it. But I feel like, and you have been covering it since the beginning, since before there even was the union effort. You were covering it just based on their work practices. But something where I just had this feeling the first time we had him on that he was going to actually do this. I did. I don't know why I thought and I wasn't as optimistic about Bessemer at all. I don't know, why. So what are your thoughts? Obviously, you've been out there since, yes?
Right.
And how is this?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very grassroots kind of guerrilla style union effort. And what I mean by that is just Christian opened that warehouse a few years ago. He trained people at that warehouse. So it wasn't like an outside big union coming that don't know the workers, that don't know the lay of the land. I mean, Christian knew that building because he helped launch it. Derek Palmer, who's the vice president of the union, he's been there for 5 years. So when you have people familiar with the workers, familiar with the plight of the workers who have experienced the terrible working conditions, how many hours workers it takes for a lot of workers to get there because it's in Staten Island. When you basically have people that are Amazon and have worked there, makes a big difference in terms of being able to connect to workers who might be on the fence or afraid of losing their job because Amazon, flooded the zone with union busting and threats of we might have to cut hours, we might have to lay people off, our benefits might not be so great. So I think the success of this first union, they've taken a pause to celebrate, but they're already actively working for the next election, which is in a few weeks at the building right across the street. So it's celebratory, but also like we got business to do. And Christian has tweeted out that he's already been contacted by 50 other warehouses nationally and overseas.
Yeah, that's the exciting part, is that it's like going to be a domino effect. And I think what you were talking about, just that sort of camaraderie that they have based on, it's not a transient facility. And I think that my understanding is that the one in Bessemer is much more that, and they don't have that same sort of history. And that is also a case where I believe it's a national union. And so I'm wondering now if that might be the reason, or at least one of the reasons why that wasn't as successful there as they were just now in Staten Island.
Right. Absolutely. It's kind of interesting because Amazon, no disrespect to Starbucks workers, because what they're doing is amazing. I've never seen union busting like this. I mean, literally, you couldn't go to the bathroom without propaganda signs in the stool. Vote no. They were calling workers at their home, sending mailers to workers, changing bus routes where the workers get dropped off to move them further away from Christian and other organizers' tent. They were basically I think they spent nearly $5 million on union busting consultants that they brought in from out of state, who were pulling workers off their shift to give them lectures for a half hour, which penalized the workers because they're tracked by the minute, by the second for productivity. So I actually think what Amazon is doing, and we'll see what their immediate response is. They're huffing and puffing that they're going to challenge the results. They haven't done so yet. And I wouldn't put anything past them. But I think all that union busting actually backfired because essentially you have what I talked about, which is Christian Smalls, the organizers, were Amazon workers, and that went a long way towards connecting with workers that might not know about unions or might be on the fence. But you also had workers being forced to sit in, the same mandatory daily union busting sessions 10 times, 11 times, 12 times. We had video leaked to us from these union busting sessions. And ALU people got in there and started basically contesting the things they were saying and not taking it lying down. So I think it was one of those things like human psychology. If Amazon keeps telling you not to do something, if mommy keeps telling you not to do something, you kind of start wanting to go the other way. And I think we've seen that a little bit with Starbucks too. So You know, instead of during these union busting sessions, union campaigns, raising workers' wages, providing them better benefits, providing them longer break times, laying off with the tracking their every move. Instead of providing them immediate relief that might make them want to unionize less because you're rewarding them now, they did the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Speaking with Jordan Chariton of Status Quo News, obviously, as we discussed, we had a very quick podcast on the day it happened. It was just too big of a story not to talk about. But we both agreed that, Bezos was going to call together all the board heads and have sort of like a midnight meeting, if you will. And it's already apparent that they're going to get very aggressive with with basically every warehouse around the country. There's already reports that you cannot say union. You cannot say living wage. You cannot say, what was it, bathroom, I think? There is...
Don't forget slave labor.
Slave labor. Mm-hmm. So there is going to be a massive backlash in regards to this. How do you foresee it unfolding over the next, we'll say, 6 months?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be a party pooper here, but I do not rule out them threatening to close the warehouse. I do not rule out them starting to fire a lot of these union organizers. Frankly, Jeff Bezos knows better than anyone. We have basically labor and regulatory bodies that have no teeth. I mean, Amazon was ruled to have illegally rigged the election in Bessemer, the first election. Nothing happened to them. It was just, all right, we're going to redo it. It's kind of like the oil companies that, like, once they, leak and poison waterways and communities, there's no criminal penalty. You just hit them with a fine, which they already baked into the cake on their balance sheet. So I wouldn't put it past Amazon being heavy-handed and threatening to close the warehouse, or laying off a ton of workers, or cutting hours for workers that were successful. And they could challenge this, but I mean, the workers won in a landslide. I could also see Amazon starting to basically put out false stories or Oppo research on Christian Smalls, this and that. I saw them doing that before the election, alluding to things, impropriety that they had no evidence for. But basically what Starbucks has done, which is firing workers, cutting hours, I would expect that, but significantly more.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.